Joining us now, investigative reporter Sara Carter, Fox News contributor. She's with us in Vegas, as well as Greg Jarrett with us in Vegas. And, well, they're not in studio here with me, but by the way, Greg's #1 New York Times bestseller, The Russian Hoax, the illicit scheme to clear Hillary Clinton and frame Donald Trump. He's going to be headed out to the Villages. If you live in the Villages or in Orlando, he's going to be there September the 26th, 7 p.m., doing a book signing and a speech. Thank you both for being with us. I thought Devin Nunes last night, Sarah, really put to bed the lie that is being perpetrated in the letter that was sent out. Literally have people like Chuck Schumer, Adam Schiff, Nancy Pelosi, Senator Warner all saying, this is dangerous for national security. And John Brennan similarly saying it. But yet they're lying to the American people, aren't they?
They're absolutely lying to the American people. A number of people have already viewed these documents. They've already had time to review them. These are people with high-level TS clearance, top-secret clearance. They put those documents, particular documents that they needed, on the request list. Those do not expose any national security concerns. I think one of the biggest issues, Sean, is that they have played this game over and over again. We've seen this in the past with the other documents. Oh, no, if you let this out, if you let out Devin Nunes's Russia report from the House Intelligence Committee, you're going to be exposing sources and methods. If you unredact some of the documents on the Carter Page FISA, you'll be exposing sources and methods. And every single time, no sources or methods were exposed. The American people have to understand that this is a game they're playing right now. It's a very serious game because they do not want that information going public. And we have enough evidence right now to show that there was very serious malfeasance within the FBI and within the DOJ. Something so much so that it's in a criminal nature. And I've been speaking to a number of people in the intelligence community that say this has gone far beyond anything they ever expected. And there should be an investigation. And because the DOJ and the FBI cannot investigate themselves, that is why people are calling for a special counsel. Begrudgingly, because they know how long these special counsels take. But this is the reason why. And there's going to be more information coming out today. I think that is going to be so damaging to what's happened here with the FBI and the DOJ, that they're going to have to do something.
Well, this is going to be a big story tonight, to the extent that you have and others have, and you're working on, and we should be breaking it tonight in Vegas, a story about perhaps all of the big names involved in this deep state scandal and them not being honest and them literally having two sets of records. Is that a way to put it doesn't give it all?
That's a fair assessment. I mean, there was definitely information that the agencies were fighting over, both the FBI as well as the CIA. Remember, in their intelligence assessment, there was a big battle as to whether or not to put the dossier along in the intelligence assessment. I think we're going to hear there's a lot more text out there where we have more information now of what was going on behind the scenes within the FBI, within the CIA, within the DNI, with James Clapper, the Director of National Intelligence, that's going to expose how damaging this really was. And when you see these text messages, there's no other way around it. They pretty much had it out for Donald Trump, and they were on a mission to stop him and to impeach him. I mean, there's just no other way around this, and I think this is why it's so important that the president actually get these documents declassified.
By the way, is this story that you're going to tell tonight separate and apart from the documents that are going to be released?
Yes, they are separate and apart from the documents that are going to be released.
By the way, Greg, you're going to love the Villages when you're down there. When is that? Next
Wednesday.
Next Wednesday night. The Villages is fun. You get all the golf you can play. They got the coolest people hanging out in bars, drinking at 9:30 in the morning. Just be careful what color shoes you pick. That's just a rumor. I don't know. My mother-in-law lives there, so something about the shoes you pick.
Come out next Wednesday at the Villages. That'd be great. It's in the evening.
Well, let's talk about Devin Nunes is saying no national security concerns. I am more concerned about many that are willing to precipitate a constitutional crisis. And by that, I mean when John Brennan is telling the DOJ and the FBI to defy a presidential order and defy what is clearly the president's constitutional authority. Article 2, Section 1. He is in charge of the executive branch of government. This is not only his role, it is his constitutional duty. They're trying to get people to literally defy the Constitution in the process. That could be a huge dangerous precedents for this country if people think that they have the right to decide, not the president.
Well, you're absolutely right. The president is everyone's superior in the executive branch, and failure to follow his order is an act of rank insubordination, which merits the person's termination. And they're doing all of this under false pretenses, because every time information is declassified, we learn the material should never have been classified to begin with. They use it falsely to cover up their own wrongdoing and abuse of authority. I'll give you two examples. In July, a substantial portion of the wiretap warrant applications presented to the FISA court was declassified. Turns out, no vital sources or methods were revealed. It should never have been classified. Before that, in February, you remember the Republican version of the House Intel Committee's memo on the Russian investigation. That was declassified. Once again, we discovered there was nothing in there that justified its suppression as classified information. So this is always employed by the FBI and the Department of Justice to hide their own wrongdoing. It is now an abuse of the system and power, and it's a violation of law.
Let's talk about, you wanted to say something, Sarah. Go ahead. And by the way, Nellie Orr is not testifying now. Did you see that?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I agree with Greg completely, and this is a big reason why we're seeing Nellie Orr now refusing to testify. You know, all of these new text messages, all of this information is coming out. We know that I've heard that possibly Peter Strzok, that has not been confirmed yet, may not want to testify again, and there are others. So what are we seeing here? We're seeing the rats try to jump off the sinking ship, right? And we're seeing people scurrying, stammering, screaming, and both the DOJ and the FBI saying, well, we're not going to turn this over. Right now, what I know is, and I've been told this by a number of sources, that they are actually in the DOJ and FBI, redacting, they're going through the documents, they're making their redactions, and then they're going to turn it over to the president and make it his authority to declassify. And if I was the president, I would declassify right away. I wouldn't play these games with the FBI and the DOJ. They're just trying to buy time.
I hear they're coming out next week, and it's not going to come out all at once. Why is that?
Well, they're going to come out in trenches because they want to continue to delay this as long as possible. And my source tells me, who's involved in these documents, tells me that the FBI director and Rod Rosenstein in particular are still going to release the documents with redactions. That means
they're defying the president.
That's right. They are defying a presidential order, and they want to force him to issue another order to declassify the redacted version. So they're playing a game, a delay tactic, to get to the midterm elections in hopes that Congress changes hands.
I mean, that is look, Article 2, Section 1. Constitution gives the president unfettered authority over all executive branch matters. Now, that means the executive power is vested in a president of the United States. Now, that empowers the president to do a lot of things. Executive actions, orders, memorandums, proclamations, directives, to other executive branch officials to take certain actions or refrain from taking other actions. He is in charge of the Department of Justice. It's not the Attorney General. Can he, even if he wanted to, couldn't he tell the Attorney General to not prosecute a case or to look into a case?
In fact, that's what Barack Obama did, with a whole group of people who are here illegally in the United States. He issued an executive action directing that their prosecutions and expulsion be deferred.
Which, by the way, itself was unconstitutional because, and he had acknowledged it some 25 times before he did it, but then he ended up doing it anyway. I can't buy executive fiat. We're a nation of laws because his executive authority contradicted the law of the land.
That's right. Other presidents, Democratic presidents, have declassified documents, and their orders were faithfully followed. Now, the CIA didn't always like it when Bill Clinton and Barack Obama declassified hundreds of CIA records, in one case thousands of them, but they, under law, under the Constitution, were required to follow the order.
I gotta stop you there.
Do so too.
Quick break. Right back. More with Greg Jarrett and Sara Carter as we continue from Vegas. All right, as we continue with investigative reporter Sara Carter, #1 New York Times bestselling author Greg Jarrett. Next Wednesday, he'll be in the Villages giving a speech and signing books. If you want to go there, 7 o'clock. All right, so let's give a little bit more. We're almost finished for today, but by 9 o'clock Eastern tonight, 6 o'clock here in Vegas time, you're going to have a pretty big story, Sara, along with John Solomon.
That's right. I think, and we're hoping to get it out tonight. So fingers crossed, everything plays out the way it should, Sean. I think the most important thing for the American people to understand is that we are right now at the precipice of something that we have never seen before in modern political history. And we've probably uncovered with Greg Jarrett and everybody else some of the most egregious violations within the DOJ and FBI that we could have imagined, because we entrust these people, especially the higher level officials. We entrust them. I mean, these are armed agents of the United States. We trust them with our lives, and now we're seeing that people within those agencies, not like you said, not the boots on the ground, but the high level officials were working together to basically remove a duly elected president. And I think we just need to keep working. We need to keep investigating.
Hopefully, we'll have that tonight, 9 Eastern.